enjoy my internet cutting in and out as well as we go, and that normally happens.
Mate, I'm on 3G and my Wi-Fi's not working, and obviously no one can't get in touch with anyone to come out. It's an absolute nightmare. Burning through it.
Hi guys, welcome back into the Blowpub podcast. Very exciting one today. Let's quickly just say hello to Joe. Joe, you all right?
Hello. I'm good. Are you?
Yeah, good. You're looking very dark there today. I don't know what's gone on with your lighting.
Well, I sort of got this, and I just look a bit sweaty if I sort of aim it at myself. So I'm trying to manage it. New desk though. A new desk. It must be
a new office and a new desk. Right,
new office.
Let's forget about Joe. Let's get on to the main subject. Zane Scotland, thanks very much for coming on. We'll do a bit of an introduction on Zane, but first of all, welcome.
Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to chatting to you guys.
Really exciting one. So anyone that doesn't know about Zane, you need to get to know about Zane from definitely a coaching point of view now. We'll leave all his links down below to Instagram, etc. if that's all right with you, Zane. First things first, let's talk about your journey. Let's name it your journey. Could we ask you about, well, let's start. Where did you start playing golf? What sort of age was that?
I mean, it wasn't really an early starter. Started at like 11, kind of close to my 12th birthday. Played football up until then. Used to play for a Saturday team, Sunday team. My dad would come and watch me. Then he started playing golf, and then he stopped coming on the Saturday because he went to play golf. And then he would watch me on Sunday. And then, you know, golf bug takes over, doesn't it? And then he was playing Saturdays and Sundays. And my mum was taking me to both the football games. And I wanted to go and hang out with my dad. So kind of quit the Saturday team, would go caddy for him. That was fun. You know, just wanted to be around my dad. And then would hit the odd shot. And then, yeah, golf kind of took over. And the next thing I knew, you know, I was battling with my parents to quit the Sunday football team. So I'd go and play golf. And lucky, really. My dad and I both had the golf bug at the same time. We were actually just chatting last night that we would go to the driving range 3 times a week. We would watch David Ledbetter videos, like literally the, I don't even know what you call them now, the actual, like, you know, big plastic things you used to put in the VHS, and watch those pretty much every day, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Chipping in the garden. Quickly evolved to, in the summer, playing 9 holes before school, teeing off at 5:45, 6 in the morning, playing 9 holes. Just super evolved really quickly. And then, you know, kind of fast forward through some junior golf. I was like 5 years between starting golf and getting to tee it up in the Open Championship at Carnoustie. But, you know, it was 5 years, but in that time, I'd probably squeezed in about 15 years of golf. So, it was, you know, it's a funny little process, really.
Awesome. Obviously, you've done that 5-year stint, which you've described there, with 15 years worth of golf involved. There's got to be a heck of a lot of talent that goes into that. And I know firsthand, having watched you practice, I've never seen anything like it. Anyway, enough of that. Let's talk a bit about that Carnoustie. How was that qualifying process? How was all of that?
Yeah, I mean, there was probably a small part of naivety, like, you know, going in there completely fresh, no scar tissue. My mindset going into the qualifying was like, okay, well, you know, I can shoot 3-4 under par, which I could at the time. My mindset was, well, it's quite easy, really. All I've got to do is do that 3 times, you know, that first stage, go to finals, and then play 2 rounds and shoot 3 or 4 under twice, and I'll get in. And I was, you know, that was honestly my mindset. And, you know, I didn't really know anything different, maybe a bit of youth on my side. And I went to the first stage, and, you know, quite funny, really. Like, I was with a guy you might know, Michael O'Brien, another PGA professional now. At the time, he was a 14-year-old caddying for me. I remember arriving, and the Titleist guy was there giving out a dozen golf balls and gloves, and it was like the best thing I've ever seen in my life, getting a dozen brand new golf balls and, you know, being around other pros. And then we got the yardage book, which is a very professional yardage book, which has all the details of every yard, every sprinkler, every mound. And we previously bought one from the pro shop, which was, you know, 200, 150. in cut and that sort of stuff. And remember getting onto the first team, getting the yardage book out and showing Mikey, my caddy, I'm 16, he's 14, and going, look how amazing this yardage book is. A professional yardage book, has all these details on it. And he looks at it and he goes, oh, that's terrible. He gets his one out. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, look at it. It's not even in colour. Like, it was just like, what are we doing there? Like two kids just running around. Anyway, got into a playoff. Didn't actually get straight in, so I got into a playoff for a reserve spot. Got through in the playoff to get 30th reserve or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then was contemplating whether to even go to final qualifying. As it turned out, one of my friends was going up there. So he said, look, I'm driving, get in the car, come with me. So I did that. And then there's normally 3 courses. I think it was 3 courses in those days, and a long time ago now. And I was practicing at that course where he was. And fortunately, there was a guy called Michael Lunt who was a member at Alton Heath, which was one of the clubs I was a member. And he was quite reasonably high up in the RNA, and he was the delegate at that course. And I think he probably pulled some strings, because 7 p.m. the night before it was going to start, he called me and said, Zane, you're in, because Sergio Garcia had just won the Irish Open. So the call came late. So it used to finish on a Saturday, and then qualifying was Sunday, Monday of the Open Championship week. And he called me and said, Zane, you're in and you're here at this venue at Downfield. So I think he probably pulled some strings to get me to that one. But yeah, and it worked out really well. And I played with Robert Allenby in the qualifying, which was, again, it was a massive deal to me. 3 weeks previous, I was happy to play alongside PGA professionals, thinking that was the best thing, getting given a dozen golf balls. Next thing, I was playing with a PGA Tour star and a guy who was, obviously very well known. And that was quite an experience, really. I remember being on the first tee, being nervous as anything. I skied it off the first tee. Couldn't even reach the green with my second shot. 3 or 4 hours later, he had a go at me because I walked on his through line. Didn't even know what a through line was in those days. And then actually, I had like a semi-shank on a pitch shot on about the 5th hole. My third shot to a par 5. And that was probably the turning point, because I just thought, well, the pressure came off then. I thought, well, it doesn't get any worse than that. And then I just proceeded to play 31 holes, like an absolute dream, to be honest, and hold everything. So, awesome. That was quite a cool experience. And then you finish on the Monday. Then Tuesday morning, you're at the Open Championship, and I was hitting balls next to Greg Norman and Darren Clark, which again, through naivety, I thought was the norm, because I just watched them on television and just thought, this is what you're supposed to do. So I was there, and everyone, people around me were like, oh, look who that is. But I'd just thought, yeah, what else? Where else would you be right now?
That's awesome.
Awesome. It was a fun experience.
What was the next big thing from there? Did you turn pro pretty quickly on from there?
So I stayed amateur for quite a long time. I was super young. I was 16. I wasn't ready to turn professional. Before that, I was happy playing junior opens and so forth. So that kind of elevated my confidence a lot, and also elevated me into the England boys team for sure. I was already in the squad, and then just kind of 6 months later, I was playing for the England men's team. But in that short space, I got a couple of invites into European Tour events, which was a great experience. I didn't make the cut, but just super experience, and it just accelerated my confidence, really. And then I stayed amateur for about probably another 4 or 5 years or so. Played for England, played for Great Britain, Ireland versus Europe. And took invites, played my way into invites on the European Tour, and took invites to build some experience. So I didn't turn pro straight away. I think I turned pro at probably a good time. I was at the point where I was, I felt like I was at the point in the amateur game where I wasn't getting much more out of it. So and it was a good time because I was able to sign with IMG, and they were able to get me starts on the tour. It was a good time from that point of view. But the other part was I had a car crash not long before turning pro, and had kind of a recurrent, like a lingering neck injury, which I thought would be okay, and it wasn't. So that kind of hampered me for about 4 years there, between kind of 02, 03 and into 06, 07. I went to loads of different specialists, and I was taking 3-4 months off at a time. So my first 3 or 4 years as a pro, I probably only played a year's worth of golf, really.
Yeah.
And then got my neck better in 2007. Went to the French Open qualifying, like I did the Open Championship qualifying, played really well. Got into the French Open, and then had a really, after having really borrowing money off my parents to go to the tournaments up until that point of that year, went to the French Open and actually I dropped a few shots in the last few holes at Golf National, which we all know are quite tricky, having watched the Ryder Cup there. But still, I made a good check, played well enough to get myself into the following week, and that snowballed a little bit really. So I went from playing a bit of Euro Pro and some Challenge Tour, not doing that great, to one good event really on the European Tour, which then snowballed into, that was in the June, and then by the September I'd played 6 events and I had enough to have a tour card for the following year.
Oh, brilliant!
I got my card off with 6 events, and it seemed quite easy.
Yeah. I mean, that's to anyone. I mean, I'm not totally clued up on the tour, but that is the ideal way of getting your card. Am I right?
It's the dream way really, because one, you're playing in main tour events. 2, you're obviously making quite a little. The financial side is obviously really good while you're doing it, and then 3, you get yourself a really good category for the following year where you get into a lot of the tournaments.
Yeah.
Obviously, the other ways are Q School and then Challenge Tour. Q School being arguably the hardest one. Arguably the hardest one. You have to go through 3 stages, and then when you do get your card, you probably get into the smaller events. You maybe get into, I don't know, I'm guessing a little bit, but maybe 70% of the tournaments, and then Challenge Tour again is very hard because you're playing against fantastic players and you've got to do it over the season-long period. But yeah, being able to do it through starts on the main tour is literally the dream way of doing it.
So,
just out of interest, sorry, just throwing it back to when you were playing back as in your amateur days for like England or GB&I, when you sort of joined that setup, were you already kind of one of the really well-established players there, or were you kind of joining at the bottom and then working up through?
So, when I was playing for England and playing for GB&I,
yeah.
I guess I was one of the younger ones. So yes, I did have to work my way through, like everyone does. Nick Doherty and myself were kind of, I think we were probably both in junior team, in the boys team, and we then were promoted to the men team as juniors. Then we were kind of, young pretenders, but there was a little bit of pressure from that point where, because there was obviously some of the selectors were very much like, well, we need experience, and then the other half, fortunately for us, who are a bit more forward thinking, if people are good enough, they're good enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, like anything, when you first get into a team, you first get picked, there's the demographic of the guys that have been there for a few years. We had an older guy called Gary Walton-Holmes, who's a fantastic player, super well established. He was like the head of the team, really. And you kind of you do come in at the bottom, and you have to kind of work your way up and find your place in it and build your own confidence that way.
Cool,
awesome. So yourself and Nick, you were the 2 young guns coming through, and I guess that accumulated some pressures from the outside potentially, would it? Maybe not in the amateur days, but as you were working your way up and through onto tour, because you had started so young.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, at that point, your belief and your confidence is so high because you just think, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my days. There's no reason to not. You kind of look at everybody who's not doing well on the tour and think, what are they doing? Why are they not doing well? Because it's all so straightforward. Because to that point, the curve had been like really sharply up. Quick. It was a quick curve, really. And I was went from playing Junior Opens to playing the Major Championship, and then being able to win national championships like the Spanish Amateur, Portuguese Amateur, one in Australia. I'd won tournaments worldwide, so you're just thinking this is just a natural progression. At that point, it's you don't see it not going well, which is probably a good thing.
Awesome. So that actually answered a question I wanted to go back to, is about big amateur wins. So there was plenty of those.
Yeah, I think golf for me has always been about winning tournaments, whatever level you're playing at. And actually, you know what? One of the things which I think myself and there was another guy, James Heath, did, who's also been on tour, Joe, from the Wisley, is even when we were like doing quite well and playing for our country, we would still drop down and play in like men's opens, county events.
Yeah.
And we were kind of like, and Ross Fisher was the same, and we would all do that. Yet there was other guys who were in the county team, and they would all like, oh, I'm not going to play in those events because they almost saw them like, oh, they're not big enough. I want to play in the Brabazon Trophy or the Lynx Trophy, and I'm going to take a week off in that week because I need to rest for the big events.
Yeah.
And we were kind of like the top of the county team, but we just thought, well, instead of having a week off, why don't we just go and play a smaller event?
Yeah.
And if you think you're too good for it, just go and be too good for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what stood us in good stead, really. Like, now you see it a lot of lads who are trying to play professional golf. They're just, they want to turn pro, have the aspirations of getting straight onto the tour. It doesn't quite happen to the tour or challenge tour. So then they kind of look at the Euro Pro and they go, oh, okay, I'll play Euro Pro, but I won't play Jamaica. And it's like, well, you're not playing for 2 weeks. Why would you not go and play Jamaica? Well, I just want to concentrate on the Euro Pro. And think, okay, well, how about you go and pick up $5,000 for playing two Jamaicas? And go and beat them. What else are you doing? It's quite a funny thing, golf, especially when turning pro, because there's a status and there's a profile for quite a lot of lads of being a professional golfer.
Yeah. And
you know what? You see some good players, they just go and get it done. Like some of the best players are played on the Euro Pro. It's amazing, really.
Oh, absolutely. And actually during this lockdown period, I know Europro actually posted a lot of videos from the archives, and some of the names that pop up there, it's incredible.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's really good. And I like that attitude of, well, if you think you're too good for it, go and prove you're too good for it. It's a case of, if you're ever speaking to someone, I imagine you would say something along these lines. Well, golf is golf, a tournament's a tournament, and a win is a win.
Exactly. The ball's still the same size, the hole's still the same size, and you can only beat the people you're playing against.
Yeah.
That's that. That's it. You know what? And also, if you don't do well and you're not able to beat them, and it doesn't work out, at least you're getting feedback. At least you're getting something. Okay, what have I got to do to get there? There's a big. I think that's another part, is being okay with like not going great, because in the time it doesn't go great is when you work out what you need to do. It's almost more important to a certain extent to your development. It's just like, just like all these things, just get over yourself, just get involved.
Yeah, I was going to say also that it kind of gives you a chance, if the environment's a bit more relaxed perhaps and you're in a tournament, it might give you that chance to suddenly, shoot that score at -9, -10 that you might not shoot regularly, and actually that'll give you loads of confidence then going into the following week.
Exactly. That you're bang on with what you've said there. Even from my own experience, that year when I did get my card off of 6 starts on the main tour, in the meantime, I was playing some PGA Pro-Ams because we were able to take on like a playing. I'm not a PGA professional now, but at the time I had to take on a playing membership, and it was great because my ethos and nose was just to try and shoot 8 under par every time I went out. And I won quite a few of them. A couple of them didn't go very well. But I just got used to shooting 4, 5, 6, 7 unders every time I went out and played. And then, golf in the middle of the fairway is the same on an easy course as it is from a tough course.
Yeah.
I'd then take that to a main tour course, hit down the middle, hit on the green. On the main tour, the rough is thicker. The fairways are probably 30% tighter, I would say. They're a little bit longer. And the pin positions are definitely tighter to the edge of the greens. But good golf is good golf. In the middle of the fairway is the same length, isn't it? The hole is the same size. So as you say, bang on there, dropping down, you can try some stuff out, freewheel a little bit, and then you build up your confidence that way.
Brilliant. And I think anyone listening that's thinking about, or is just starting out, trying to be a golfer, let's put it in real simple terms, that is incredible advice. Everybody's playing the same game, essentially. So
yeah, exactly.
Go for it. But we'll get onto that a little bit later about Zane's advice on the early days as a final word. But I wanted to ask you, so we've been over a little bit of European Tour. How did the European Tour stuff sort of come to an end? And I want to roll it into MENA Tour, because I know you've got a good relationship with them.
Yeah, so I guess I had two main injuries. So I had a car crash, got a fit, got my card. Then, for one reason or another, I was had a bit of a break one of the winters, was practicing hard. Anyway, I ended up fracturing my wrist through over practicing and probably working on the wrong things. Had some bad advice, was into hitting like, 10, 11, 12 buckets a day, doing the wrong thing. Actually ended up fracturing my wrist. And then I was out for a year, came back on a medical, probably hadn't prepared well enough. I hadn't, just kind of sat around waiting to get back playing, rather than like now the journey to getting back playing would be so different, because the info is out there and the experience. And yeah, I wasn't quite ready when I came back on a medical. My wrist wasn't quite right, came back a bit too early. Thought it'd be easy, but you take a year out and then you try and go and compete against Henrik Stenson, who's been playing 5 events in a row early on in the season, and you're trying to start in April. It doesn't work. Yeah. And then I dropped off, lost my card, got back in, and then I was a bit bummed out. Then I qualified for the Open Championship at St Andrews in 2010, and that gave me a bit of buzz again. And I thought, actually, I actually felt more comfortable in the big event than I did in the smaller events. I found it difficult to get myself up for the smaller events at that point.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, even though I was trying, got back in the Open Championship, I thought, okay, this is what I want to do. So I started to, really dig in again. And then I kind of worked myself back I got a category on the tour again by about 2014, having in the meantime used the Minotaur to, again, drop down, go and win tournaments, get used to playing good golf and beating people again. By 2014, I kind of got myself a category again. And then we had a baby, wife and I had a child, and we had some issues there, and he was a terrible sleeper. I didn't deal with it well enough. I probably should have gone to tournaments earlier, but I started going to tournaments later. Yeah. Underprepared again, arriving tired, having not done much, and you're competing against really good players. So my preparation was really poor, and it kind of dipped off again. But then I was kind of maintaining something, and then I started to get a back injury around end of 2015, 2016. I started to get some back issues, but my neck issue had gone. My neck issue is what I had from the car crash. But then I think I kind of referred to my back then, and that started to give way a little bit. So then, just from that point, I just had back injuries for a few years, and just wasn't able to do what I felt I needed to do. But then on the other side, I'd taken a keen interest in the golf swing, and just started to help a couple of players with their golf that I'd played alongside, and they started to do quite well. So then my focus kind of shifted into coaching a little bit. I was still playing a little bit part-time as such, and then coaching part-time. And then that obviously just picked up some steam.
Awesome. So so where does Minotaur fit into that? Are you still an ambassador for them?
Yeah, so I'm still an ambassador for the Minotaur. They were very kind to make me an honorary member, so I can play there until I drop dead, which is quite nice. Awesome. So that started in like kind of 2011, 2012. And and they've done different schedules and so forth, but it's been really good, to be honest. You play really good golf courses, you play in good weather, and the facilities are great. So you feel like you're really prepping for playing tour golf, because you can hit a lot of drivers and you can practice in a lot of drivers. So that's really cool. And they go to some fantastic venues which you wouldn't go to. You go to like places like Jordan, Kuwait. I've been to Saudi 5 years ago. I know they had the big tournament there now, but we were there before, that sort of stuff. So, and that's been great, because I enjoy playing there, enjoy playing in the heat. I like playing in shorts. It's good for me. I play well probably because I can move, because it's good for my back, because it's hot.
Yeah.
It's a really enjoyable tour in that respect, because you are actually traveling and having to do things what you would do for the big boy tour, basically, as opposed to Europro. Is good, it ticks loads of boxes. The part it doesn't tick is you get in your car and you drive 2 hours home on a Friday night and you're with the boys. There's a big difference with having to be out there traveling, committing, managing your finances and lifestyle, foods and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's it. And actually, interesting enough, Harry Koenig, who was on the podcast a week ago, was talking about best preparation for tour, because obviously he won. It was the Tour Championships he won, wasn't it, a few months ago?
He did, yes.
And he said that is the best preparation, because it replicates tour life the best, because you are getting on a plane, you're doing multiple flights, you're having to deal with fatigue, etc. So yeah, really good.
Yeah, and the prize funds are pretty good. And as Harry did, Harry got himself a spot in the Dubai Desert Classic, which is a big elevation to where he wouldn't have been able to get that sort of experience so quickly on anywhere else. I know you can get to the Challenge Tour from other tours, which is great, but there's actually incentives to get straight into main tour events, which is fantastic. And also it's what I like. I got my card that way originally, so it probably holds a bit more water for me. I think actually my mindset is, if you can get into it, it could all change, and you could really smash it off those opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. It can just go bang, can't it?
Yeah, it really.
And that
really
leads
can.
us on to the final subject, which now is the birth of, which has been going for a while now, the Zane Scotland Academy. Tell us a little bit about that. I've seen a lot of the guys in your camp are playing a lot of MENA Tour throughout the winter, etc.
Yeah, we have quite a few. So really specialising in good players. Still have, I still have clients who just golf perverts, really. They love it. Kind of guys who, like all of us. I think there's a different level between golf geek and golf pervert. I'll put myself in the golf pervert category. And I enjoy helping people who are committed to the process and getting better. Whether that be if there's a guy off 8 or 9 and he practices 3 times a week. And some of the AMs that I coach actually are more professional than the professionals. And then yes, we coach, like myself, Josh White, who's also a Weasley member. You may know Joe. We coach predominantly pros. We've got from main tour, challenge tour, Euro Pro, MENA Tour, Jamaica. Kind of specialise in that area really. So yeah, but that was all born out of Josh, who was playing. He was like challenge tour, main tour, and Todd Clements. And Todd Clements was like the first full client, I suppose, and he was maybe 1,500 in the world when we started, and helped him out a little bit. And he's obviously super talented, and he just went up world rankings so quickly, and within a couple of years got himself up number 8, won the English Amateur. And obviously off the back of successes like him and Josh started to play better, more people would come along, because I like all this sort of thing. Results speak for themselves, don't they? Yeah. That's where it all comes down to at the end of the day.
And I guess, I guess like any sport, it's results driven, isn't it? So people
exactly.
Exactly. And interesting, you mentioned Todd there. I don't know Todd at all. I've never met him, but he always seems to be the most popular, featuring on different pages and scores and wins. He's had quite a few, hasn't he, in recent times? Yeah,
I mean, he's been a professional for a year. I think he is just a winner, really. Well, I say that his first win, he won the English Amateur in 2017, and we're at the Berkshire, and which you obviously know quite well. And we were sitting outside on the veranda, and he had his big trophy, the huge English Amateur trophy. Yeah. He's having a beer, all celebrating. And he said, "This is the first tournament I've ever won." Wow. And I was like, "What? Really?" He's like, "Yeah," because he obviously had a lot of good performances. It got to that point, but he's like, "I've never won the thing before." I was like, "Oh, wow." And that just like flicked the switch in his head. And then he went on to win. He won like 6 events, the amateur spots on the MENA Tour, won like 6 in a row. Won that order, walked that order of merit. Then went out the following year to the Nations Cup, won that, and he just went win. And then he turned pro, and he won. I think he won his first ever Euro Pro. Won again on that tour. He's won on the TP Tour. He nearly won a couple of Challenge Tour events. He is actually, weirdly enough, he's turned himself into a winner, which is cool. Very cool.
That's amazing. Well, anybody watching the podcast, look out for Todd and any of Zane's guys. Like I said, we'll drop Zane's details below, and I'm sure you'll be updating everybody on how your guys are doing. So yeah, that pretty much covers it all.
I was going to ask one quick question for that. Just with some of the sort of Sky Sports things that you're doing at the moment, how did that sort of come around?
How did that come around? I guess again they're having a bit of a change in team at the time. Probably helps that a decent manager. Little shout out to him, Ali Miller, Hype Sports. He did a good job. He previously looked after Henley, and who's moved on now to Golf TV. But she was previously in Sky Sports, and then he, obviously put me forward. And it probably helps that Nick Doherty is kind of taking over a little bit. And then also, Joe, you would know Dennis Pugh and Simon Holmes. They both do Sky Sports stuff, and I'm good friends with them. And Dennis was kind of moving out, and he kind of put my name forward as well, and invited me in a couple of times to the studio to come and watch what he does and shadow him. So Dennis was super helpful with that as well, and then just kind of took from there really. And it's super enjoyable because you get to go to the studio on a weekend, and you get to watch. They pick you up, you get to watch the golf. They give you dinner. They give you coffees and cappuccinos on demand, dairy milks, and you're sitting with Rob Lee and David Howell and Sophie Walker and people that you watch on television, and you're getting to talk to them about the golf. Which, if I was at home, I'd be watching the golf anyway. And you're just getting to actually have a say on something that's quite important, really, because your opinions go off to the yeah, exactly. So it's just super good fun, to be honest. It's a bit of a dream. Obviously, playing golf is a dream, but the next part is I love watching PGA Tour and the stuff I was doing with PGA Tour. So that was it's great. And literally, you can just all the sweets and all the coffees and teas and hot chocolates. They just bang them out whenever you want them. So it's cool.
Awesome. So the media is that going to be more of a permanent fixture for you in the coming years? Do you reckon?
Yeah, well, we'll see. I was obviously going to do some more this year, but now there's no coverage. But that is definitely something I want to do more of. I do super enjoy it, and it's good fun when you're in the studio because they've got a TrackMan set up and they've got the screen. So when you're off air as such, when they cut to the American coverage, we're all just in there hitting balls, trying stuff out. David Howe's come in and he's always got some little drill that he's got off one of the assistants at Queenwood that day, and he's gone, what do you think of this? And we're hitting balls and trying stuff out. It is quite a funny little experience going on and giving Sarah a lesson. She's like, right, we've got 10 minutes. Can you give me a quick lesson? I've got a golf day. So that sort of stuff. So that part was quite fun. But yeah, the media stuff, it's good fun really, talking about golf, getting to meet other people in the industry who share your enthusiasm for the game, getting to chat with you guys, just talk about stuff. And other people can watch because people are interested in, you guys are pros. I'm a professional golfer coming through, in the media stuff, but having had some experience, people are interested in what we want to talk about. And I know that because I listen to the golf podcast and I watch all these lives that are going on at the moment, and I'm super interested in what people are talking about and doing. So, yeah, I'm one of the golf perverts.
Brilliant. Well, that's a really good insight. Thanks very much. What about let's flip it on its head. Any tips for us on the podcast?
On the podcast, just from the podcast point of view?
Well, anything that you'd think people would want to see. Anything more of tips, drills, anything like that?
I think I've tried to engage what I would like to see in stuff that I do, which then most things remain quite authentic. Yeah. And one thing I've really learned in this is just give out stuff for free. Just share your info, whether it be tips or insights or whatever. And that's probably the best advice I've taken. And it does come back to you. But yeah, just give out stuff for free. I'm happy to, I like doing golf swing stuff and a little bit of short game and so forth. But yeah, any of that sort of stuff, even with the show, I think I always notice it's interesting to see taking questions from people and then a lot of them are to do with golf swing for tips and so forth. Like at the moment, I always had the one thing that one thing you could do while you're at home is just somehow build up some speed. Everyone's got all trying to hit balls into a net in our garden, which is fantastic, and keep the swing going, that sort of stuff. But you know, if we're honest, like you could come out of this with 5 or 6 miles per hour more club head speed. And a tip that I got from Joe Miller, who's, you know, you guys all know,
there's no
2-time world long drive champion, said,
yeah,
the one thing people don't do every day is just swing a golf club as hard as they can. He said, just do 20 swings as fast as you can every day. He said, you'll get faster. So everyone's in the gym, squatting, got to do this, got to do that. Go, just get a golf club and swing fast, 20 swings. So, yeah, if I was going to give a tip, especially during these next few weeks, just try and be 5 miles per hour faster, 4 miles per hour faster than when you came into the lockdown. And then go and see a really good coach and he'll put your swing back together for you. After you had time off.
Awesome. Well, Lovery, good question at the end there. I didn't write that question down. I'm glad you jumped in. Thanks very much, Zane. We really appreciate that. That's a really good insight into your journey.
Anytime, boys. That was good fun.
Thank you very much. So if you haven't already, click that subscribe button if you could. Follow us on Instagram, follow Zane on Instagram, and any other platforms you want to put out there, Zane? Instagram's you're quite busy on, aren't you?
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, just my name, Twitter, I think it's at Zane Scotland, and yeah, I'm not done the TikTok and all the others yet. I have to go at YouTube, but YouTube's difficult. You got to be a proper film man, editor for that stuff.
Yeah, YouTube's taken some time, but the podcast seem the easiest to get out there at the moment. But maybe we'll branch off into other things. But really good. Yeah, like I said, subscribe, and we'll see you all very, very soon.